This is the point where I stop copying the style of the reference exactly. Because right here you can see what was the forest in there, and it's kind of done with like that and that and that, and I don't like the way that looks. So instead, I need to bring down the weight on that. So instead, I'm doing kind of like that, and then do 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 do, kind of like that. So that looks more like a cliff. So I need to not do that. And then it kind of like has some little leafy bits in there like that. And then occasionally you'll get like a line that runs through there. Yeah, like that. But the lines there need to be thinner. So for now, I'm just doing the outline. One of the reasons I'm doing the forests last is because they need to conform to the land. Like they need to go around the mountains here. But sometimes the mountains go a little bit further than I intend them to, which is why I did the mountains first, then the water, and now I'm doing the trees. I also keep, because it's tiling itself. Sometimes I like work this way, and then the program doesn't let me go any farther. I freak out. I'm like, why won't it let me draw? I have to go all the way around to the other side. I think that last time when I was placing mountains, I tried to copy just part of the mountain from a layer, but I had made the selection that was the selection I made was technically off the canvas, and so it wasn't picking up any of the pixels. And I I just tried to copy it like 5 different times before I realized what was happening. So one of the reasons that I keep the grid on um, is because then I can tell what's actually the canvas. Because if I have the grid off, then it's just kind of like, which one am I actually drawing on? But with the grid on, I can see that if I'm doing anything other than just drawing and erasing, like if I try and select and move anything or recolor anything, um, move anything around, blend anything, it's not gonna cooperate once I go out of the canvas. But for just drawing, I can totally just like draw over here. It appears over there. One of the reasons that I didn't start the stream earlier, other than I was tired and wanted to read instead of do art, um, was that I was waiting for a package to come and roll mail. Was like we'll deliver it at some point. You had plans today? Nope. You're just sitting there doing nothing, waiting for it. Yeah, it was actually a bunch of my fabric that I ordered. Um, it's got both of the shrimp patterns, both the radioactive shrimp and the regular shrimp that I made. Um, and then it's also got the K-pop Demon Hunters patterns, both the regular demon one and then like the shimmery Hanmoon one at the end. Um, and then it's also got, yes, my shrimps finally got approved. As so did the K-pop Demon Hunters fabric. I don't know why it was taking so long. I think it's because I don't know, is Labor Day a UK bank holiday? I don't actually know if that's just a US holiday or not. But yeah, they were taking forever to get approved. They actually ended up getting approved like right after I bought the order. So I don't know if they're just like, oh, you uploaded too much, you've got to buy some stuff first before we trust you, or if just it takes a while because they do like actual human approval. But anyway, it's been approved. I put the link up on TikTok that I did of the for the shrimps. I've got to do a video for the K-pop Demon Hunters pattern. I got to figure out what sound to use for that. Yeah, ads for 2 markets. There's I don't have any booked to sell as a vendor right now. Um, but I am going to check out one kind of near central-ish this Saturday to see if it's something I might want to sell at. I forget what it's called right now because words are hard. Hey, I just got a text message. um, but what's cool about that market is they do free workshops. They're like crafty things. They had a tarot workshop which might interest you. But they are also part of a company that has physical stores where they sell products from a bunch of small businesses. Okay, I think that's all the forests. I'm not seeing any patches. Oh, wait, no. I totally missed the ones that were on the reference. That island needs a little forest, and this island needs a little forest. Kind of looks like Australia. In fact, there. Okay, now I think we've got all the forests. We've got an Oxbow Lake, we've got Australia. I don't think that I've accidentally hidden anything naughty in here. I do have a curse of some sort where if I'm not paying attention, sometimes my art unintentionally features some interesting motifs. And while that is sometimes, I'm. I mean, it is for a Date Everything cosplay. But also, I want to sell this fabric, and I don't want to sell it if it's got a little something hidden in it. So it's already got a heart on it. Okay. Hide the forests. We're gonna go ahead and hide the 2 reference pieces too. Yeah, that looks good. So now what we're going to do is on each of the, I'm going to do this on a different layer because I'm smart like that. I'm going to do those little squiggles like, yeah. Nope, I'm going to make that smaller too. Little squiggles, smaller squiggles. It's too small. Little squiggles. Squiggledy, squiggledy, squiggledy. I have done some research on how to get audio in the stream so that you can, so that when I'm sitting here jamming out while inking, I'm not just sitting on the stream in silence. Um, but I've like done the research but not actually implemented any of it. But when I do get when I do get that figured out, I'm going to need to have things to listen to. That doesn't look right. I think that's too many. This is why we put it on a different layer. This is when we... Okay. That's why it looked wrong. When things don't look right, you go look at other artists' art and figure out what they did that you did differently, and then you try it, and sometimes it looks better. I noticed, I just looked through Google Images real quick at a whole bunch of different maps. And when they don't do every tree individually, they do those little squiggles, but they don't do it around like I was doing. They just do it in lines that are all horizontal. But yeah, another reason I didn't implement anything in the stream or change anything this time is because this is a direct continuation of what I was doing last week. And so I don't want to change the layout too much. But I do want to add in some interaction. Things like at the very least getting getting the chat like actually up in the stream itself so that I'm just not talking to nobody. Um, I also, yes, interaction. But yeah, things like a soundboard and potentially voting on patterns that I should draw. Potentially input on the music I listen to. So I'm... Oh, and that's a big forest. Okay. Didn't I cut that one up? One sec. No, I didn't. I should do that. Okay, I think that's all the forests now. Cool. We're gonna cheat a little bit. We'll cheat. We're gonna make a guide. I'm gonna take this layer that we copied. I'm going to offset it. Not by that at all. By that, like 5 pixels. That was too much. There we go. And that's not going to show up in the final thing, but it lets me do that quicker. And then I think that after I'm done inking in these forests, that it's time for the coloring. Or not necessarily coloring, but shading. I've got references I need to use, but basically I'm gonna mess it up first by making everything magenta. um, just to show where the masks are, and then I'll go through and add kind of like a darker papery shading, A for a texture of the whole thing, and then B kind of like around the edges of the shorelines and the forest, just to show what everything is. Okay, I think that's all the forest done. Okay. Okay, we're gonna hide that for now. Let me do the masks. We're gonna have to do another group in there to make all of the masks actually work. Okay, we're gonna make this an obnoxious green. And it's not going to stay that way. Don't want to do all of that, thank you. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Another thing about this program is that when because technically that and that is its own region, means that when I like go here and I try and color in that whole section, it doesn't get this bit over here because it's not over there, it's actually over here. The program just kind of copies over for the graphics. So I have to like overlap it a little bit there. Again, the forests are not going to stay this color. Theoretically, they're not really going to be colored in at all. Oh, did I miss? I missed a forest. That looks funky. Oh well. Okay, now I think that's all of the forests. Okay. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the water with an equally obnoxious blue. Boop, 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 Oxbow Lake, and that lake. Oh, and that corner. And now we're going to go over and it's going to look like I've undone everything I just did. I didn't. I actually just. Oh no, I missed a spot. Why did I miss? Why is that not? Did I do that on the inking layer? I did, didn't I? Okay, forests. Back to multi-layers. Save. Go. Add a layer. Call it water. Back to obnoxious blue. There we go. Go. That. Oh, that means that we should take that and move it forward from underneath the ink. Okay. New group. Goes there. Group called reference. Remove screenshots to the reference folders if they're in the correct place. Okay, so the reason that I have put this mask over all of that um, is that, oh, and actually, so that's the wrong color because it was half transparent. Okay, is that most of the map is this color. No, it's not. That's the shadow. Most of it is that color. Okay, so it was pretty accurate. But it then let me get onto the actual thing. Thank you. Because most of the map is that color. And then it looks like water is actually that color. And then we've got this. That's kind of underneath there. And it's just kind of brushed on. But generally, yeah, that's what I want. And then we can take this layer and just put the opacity down. No, we don't want to put the opacity down because then that messes with everything. Okay. And a lot of the mountains have that sort of shading on them. Needs to be bigger and softer than that. Yeah, there we go. I'm also going to in between, and then the forests. Ooh, that's an idea for a potential pattern. Things carved into desks. Like in like secondary school, or I guess in high school and middle school in the States, when you have like a desk that's been there for ages and someone snuck in a knife, or they've, yes, there would. But like that and the and like they've carved like the little S thing, and and there's got to be like a heart carved with two initials. Yeah, sticking that, and then also it would be interesting to kind of take that concept of things that you would doodle like that and turn it into a map like this. That never really happened to the desks at the high school I went to, but we did have like people would do that to erasers, and then like you give it an eraser and it's just got like pencil lead embedded into it, and you're like, thanks, this is totally gonna get marks off my paper. I think that I'm now gonna start shading a bit, or not shading, but smudging things out a bit. Oh, I think I see what's happening in the mountains. That's way too much work than I want to do, though. You can see how it's like each individual mountain is shaded. Okay, I'm gonna try something. And it's probably going to end up taking a lot more time and effort, but I think that it will make it look better. What if I do something like that? But obviously more better. I do that, but more better. Let's be more straight. Oh my god, that makes it look so much better. I have figured out mountains, and I am happy now. And then here, it's theoretically that color. Okay, that actually looks good as opposed to bad. I am very happy because I have not been confident in my mountains like at all for the longest time, and I just figured out the trick. I'm honestly a bit miffed that I didn't figure it out sooner, but you know what? And there, and what was it? It was that one, and it was black. I bet the trick to making these look good is by also doing a little valley down the middle. Yeah? Look at that. Look at all the mountains. Okay. Awesome. Okay, and then probably also want to do hills. Means that, 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 that. Apparently it's sunset perpetually here. Even though the shadows are all in the east. This, and I just kind of blend it all out. Shit. Undo that. But yeah, already the shading looks good, so I will just do that on the correct layer next time, and then call it good. Cool. So now we go down to mountains and hills. Select that. Select that. Thank you. You were gone for a while. You missed me finally figuring out how to draw mountains. I was very unhappy with my mountains. And then I looked at how they were shaded and I realized that I forgot a step. I will go back in like a day or two and highlight everything, and I will absolutely be posting the moment that I discovered that mountains are actually fairly easy to draw on its own because I can't believe that. So, mountain. Um, Still mountain. But that's a triangle. That's not a mountain. That's a mountain. Triangle, mountain. Triangle, mountain. Oh, where the there, that's what I was working on. And now I'm figuring out how to shade all these. Oh, that actually wants to go all the way. No, nope, other side. That way, please. Thank you. It is, but it is still recognizable without the squiggles, but it looks so much better with the squiggles. I mean, they're not the best squiggles. this. I'm not cringe when I put the squiggles on it. I'm not cringing every time I look at it. So now I get to listen to K-pop Demon Hunters and color in like half of all of these hills. And part of me, I do have a separate program for drawing fantasy maps. And part of me was like, hey, why don't I just build the pattern itself in that program? But it's really hard to it's really hard to get why is this not working? Where is that? One sec. I'm trying. There we go. I was hunting layers. Um, the program that I have specifically for mapping like this. It's for doing D&D dungeon maps and then also like whole area maps, which is what this would be. It's really hard to get that to tile because a lot of it does a lot of automatically generating things like shadows and putting texture over things to make like to make it look nicer and kind of streamline things. And when you try and use that to make something that tiles, you get artifacts along the seams of everything. Um, and so when I was trying to make this, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna use Krita because I know how Krita works. I know how to tile in it, and then it just won't be able to use all of my nice stamps and tools for and assets that I already have for things like these hills. Because in that program, I'd be able to just instead of like sketching the hills and then inking the hills and then going through and shading the hills and then going through and blurring and blending all of that shading, I could just go hill, 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 and it would be like it would randomly put down one of like 5 stamps. Um, Bonuses of that, it's faster. Cons, I don't have as much control over exactly how it looks. Like I can go through and say, okay, I want exactly this stamp here, so I can like decide, like, hey, I want a hill that looks like this instead of a hill that looks like this, but I can't just draw my own hill. And for me, I get persnickety and then I get frustrated because it's not looking exactly like it looks in my mind. Um, and for mountains in particular, I've always kind of been um, especially like for forests and rivers, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it myself. For dungeon walls, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it myself, unless it's bricks, and then I use a brush. Um, but for mountains, I've always been so insecure with the way that I draw mountains that I'm like, no, I need to use the stamp, and then I get frustrated because all the mountains look the same because it's one of like 5 stamps, and then I can see the repeat, and then I get frustrated, even if it looks fine to everyone else. But now I understand how mountains work, so I can draw my own mountains, which also means that I can make more of the stamps and put that into the program so that I can have more mountains when I do end up, if I'm making like a really big map or I have to make a map quickly, I can reuse assets. Hey, I might even like copy some of these mountains. Way down, please. Thank you. Am I missing any mountains? I think that's all of them. Yeah. that already looks so much better. Okay, and it's been 2 hours, but I am so close to done with this pattern. And I don't want to do a third part. So I am going to take a break. I'm going to leave the stream on. I'm going to go eat a granola bar. And then I will come back and do the shading. Yeah. Oh, that needs to come this way a little bit. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay. Okay, there we go. I have had a granola bar. I've had water. I'm taking a little breather. I checked my messages. And now we're going to scroll a bunch with the blend tool. I'm gonna rotate it. It's gonna look really weird. It's gonna make it so much easier, maybe. That should make it so much easier. There we go. Okay, I think that's all blended. I'm not gonna worry about like zooming in and clearing up those lines because they're just mountains. Not meant to be blended. That I don't see any like big patches of mountains that I didn't get. Yeah, okay. This is going to be a long process. But it was not exactly accurate the other way I tried to do it, so now we could just sit here and do this instead. Because, well, no one else would have noticed. I will notice. And then we Control E, copy that, do that, and then we just rotate that. There's a grid there, and now I don't know where the grid is because I use the grid to know where the canvas is. Or the grid is gone because there's another grid. There's the grid. There we go. Okay. Okay. That's, I think, is the very least good enough. It's kind of ugly, but whatever. This whole thing is going to be like that. There we go. I mean, that's pretty arguably the same pattern. Yeah? All right, we were going to do texture. Okay, let's do texture and then call it good. I don't think we need much texture, but we do want to do a little. And the beauty of digital art is if it doesn't look good, we just delete it. Once again, I have no idea where the thing is. There it is. We're getting rid of the grid for now. There we go. If make it really dirty. Some ink splatters. There we go. Okay, what's happened to that? Why is that doing that? Oh, I see what's happened. And then with that, it doesn't quite cover everything. So I'm put that down. You can see that there are some places, or you should be able to see that there are some places where it doesn't quite get everything. And that just makes it look a little bit more worn right off the bat for when you want that look. And then we add the rest of the texture on top. And then it looks like a map. Oh, and then the grid. And then it looks like a map. Oy. Okay, now it should look pretty similar. That's not what I meant to do. And that looks pretty similar. You've even got, where's that heart? There we go. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna hop off now because I've been doing this for 3 hours now. I was only supposed to be doing this for 2, but I've got this pattern done for Chance's shirt, and then I've got this pattern done for his trousers. The only other pattern I need to do is the, doesn't have it in the sprite, but the cloak. That's an extra thing. So now I get to focus on making the rest of the cosplay and then getting the fabric for this front piece and for the hood printed out. And then yeah. That means that next week I'll probably be back to making regular patterns. which means I gotta figure out what I want to make. But yeah, we'll see what that we'll see next week what I end up doing. Yeah. Bye.